You can have everything on Zoom besides the
popcorn,
and the
lasagna.
and the delicious cake here.
They can come here and have it.
No.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Come to
shehakel
James
midvarim.
17th, they can have popcorn and cake.
Okay,
Soda.
not many years ago, a couple of years ago, they found in the Rebbe's desk a booklet on the Reshimas Hamenorah. The Reshimas Hamenorah is a booklet. They later also found a letter from his father-in-law to the Rebbe, saying to him, and if you have the brand new books, you could open up to page 3. By the way, I waited simply in the bookstore for these things to come. These are literally hot off the press. I waited in Kahas till the boxes came in. If you look here on page 3, Rabbi Talansky, a sefer hot off the press. So on page 3, they found a letter from the Frierdiker Rebbe to his son-in-law. He says, "Hineni mevakshecha asher tochen hamichtav asher nisa liyididenu Reb Shnei Zalman Shmotkin." He was a Yid, he was a printer and a svarim seller in Warsaw, Nebach, killed by the Nazis. I want you to write it up. I want you to develop the sugya very well. Hot off the press. It's still cold, but page 3. I want you should write it up as a tshuva. You said the Saloshanas Gemara, Hamishna Balocha Vachek Davar in Yonam Al Derech Hadrush Varemes Beguf Adam Manyan Hamenorah Resel, page 3. Hamikdash Vekelev Manyan Apida Kechsidus B'Masoides Habal Shem Tov Rav Amagid Skusam Yogan Oleinu Manyan Apitoris Chudus Chabad. And then at the end of the letter, Hineni Koifel of Akosh. Says father-in-law, but there's one word here. He asked him he should write it barichas. He knew his son-in-law was very noita to write everything in extremely bekitze. So when it's taka surprising from the Rebbe, everything was always like tiny words. You look here, there's a copy of the actual writing. If you look here, turn another 2 pages. You see over here? See how tiny the letters are?
Mm-hmm.
And they're written from the top to the bottom.
My brother knew how to write it.
And I was like,
He did all of Chazon Shiur.
yeah.
7-8 years. He went back.
Yeah. So here is a masterpiece from the Rebbe about lighting the menorah. The funny thing is that the avodah, the Gemara says this is not called the avodah. Even a zor. So Mashiach will come. Theoretically, anyone in this room can light the menorah. Hadlok is shaded the zor. This is an exception. There's 2 things in the base of Mikdash that anyone can do. Shchita. You know how to shech?
No.
Oh, so you can't do that. And the other thing you can do in the base of Mikdash is light the menorah.
You take it out.
Yeah, it's complicated.
So Rabbi,
Don't worry, they're not bringing it out for you to light.
No. So in that case, I need to learn how to do shchita, because if the Mashiach comes,
Yep.
I have to be ready.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I have to be ready.
Yeah. Well, because he wants to have the schus, the shech, Korban Pesach, and he wants a shech.
Because if Mashiach walks in, I need to know how to shech, right?
Yeah.
Can you please
Yeah.
pass me to shoot?
Here, you have 1 box right in front of you, actually. You have it right over
Thanks
there.
so much, Rabbi.
Is anyone allowed to prepare the menorah?
No. The only thing that Azor could do is the adlock. The only thing that Azor could do is the actual adlock. Okay. You can open the sefer. Talansky. Bishop da bissel so much the. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Daf Yud in the Reshimas Hamenorah. Turn to Daf Yud. Oh, you're already there. I'm sorry, Daf Aleph. Daf Yud. Sorry. Daf Aleph, you're there, in the right place. Where you have the gold words, Hamenorah. See the gold words? Hamenorah.
Yeah.
Okay. Tshuva al she'elose b'michtav lavar hashitas beseder hadlokas hanedes bebeis hamikdash v'nimukim v'chein lavar inyonim al derech hadrush miyusad al mavur b'divrei kim chaim bozeh. Where and when did the Rebbe write this? He wrote this tshuva about hadlokas hanedes tofresh tzadik tes. Where? Huh? Paris. He wrote it in Paris. 1939. Well, not a very good place to be.
Yeah, but today in Paris,
1930.
they're celebrating today.
Uh-huh.
Soccer, the semi-final.
But for a Jew, 1939 in Paris was not a very good place to be. Anyway, okay.
The Nazis already infiltrated, right? 1939.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But now you know what the Rebbe is busy doing.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't stand ready the whole thing?
Oh, you bring the Rambam, but the Rav said
Uh-huh.
that none of his rebellion seemed like the Rambam, that you lied in the
Okay. It's not the only issue here. We're talking about the Reshima here that is 140 plus a suffix, 150 pages. Okay.
This was just published now?
It was published a couple of years ago. It was published, you look here in the forward, Tafshin Nun Ches, 15 years ago. They found it in the Rebbe's desk. It took them time to,
It's 1998, that's 20,
I'm sorry, 24
years ago.
24 years ago. Okay. I'm sorry. 24 years ago. Okay.
Israel.
Before we start, the Gemara says that there is a Nera Maravi, there is a candle, which is called Nera Maravi, the Western candle, that was a Eidus Shashchina Shruya B'Yisrael. That was saying testimony that the Shechina is always there by the Jewish people. The Gemara says, unbelievable thing. The Gemara says it was a miracle. In the days of Shimon HaTzadik, he was 40 years a Kohen Gadol. That candle lit, it was there for 40 years straight. That's what the Gemara says in Daf Lametes Amud Aleph from the Mishnah and Mesachas Yom.
And the others would be relit on a daily basis?
But they had to clean it out.
All these, in the next, after we finish 150 pages of the year, you will not ask these questions. You will ask some different questions. These questions you won't be asking.
Are we going to finish it this Hanukkah?
We'll see. We'll try our best. We'll try our best.
We'll have a mishmor every night of Hanukkah to get
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nishmor, donuts and coffee,
Yeah.
and we'll plow through it.
Well, thankfully, the Goyim have a big holiday, the Sunday of Hanukkah. So Motzi Shabbos through, and then Monday people have off. So
Good.
Great days. We'll just learn to say
Good.
consecutive.
Good.
Stop break.
Good idea.
Okay, good.
As long as we have some donuts and coffee to keep us up. So the Gemara says about Shimon HaTzadik that there's a celebration. The Gemara says in Yom Daf Samachtes that there's a Yom Tif in the Megillas Tainus. Now we don't keep exactly Megillas Tainus, but those days are special days. Hanukkah and Purim we keep. The other key, the Gemara says we don't keep. But this is a special day in the Jewish calendar. What was that? What happened? Be'esim v'chamisha b'teves yom haragrizimu. Tolol mitzped b'hoin. Yom shebikesh kusim es beis elakenim Alexandris moiktem la'achriv. That the kusim that lived in the around Shechem, Hagrizim, and they convinced the Alexander Moiktoin, we're talking about the king who in his days the Persians lost lost their influence over world politics, and now the Yevonim came on stage, starting from Alexander Moikdon. There's politics in Macedonia. They say that they're the Greeks, but the Greeks, the Aganza Machloikis, it's a serious Machloikis.
Who's real young?
Who's a real Yevon? Who's a real Yevon? The Macedonians say, but the Macedonian Greeks, but the Greeks are very insulted. You're not Greek, you're Macedonian.
The Turks also say the other Muslims are not the Yishma. We're the
real ones.
They're the white of the
Uh-huh. So, okay. It's good stuff, right?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, so they convinced, the Kusim convinced Alexander that he should destroy Yerushalayim, destroy the Beis HaMikdash. Shimon HaTzadik found out about this calamity. Ma'os lovish bigde kahuna. He put on the begodim of the Kohen. V'nesatev bevigde kahuna. Umiyakiri Yerushalayim mivre. V'avukas shel oir biyodam v'chol alaylo alolu ha'olchim. They were walking all night from Yerushalayim to greet. Here is coming a mighty king who has managed to conquer all of the civilized world at that time. His influence was unbelievable. He's coming with a mighty army to destroy Yerushalayim, the Beis HaMikdash. And what is Shimon HaTzadik doing? A bayonet, a gun, a pistol? No. He's walking with big kahuna and they're holding candles. They're walking all night. They're also delegations from the Kusim, from Har Glizim, were also walking to greet Alexander Moikten. Until the crack of dawn. When it came the morning. So they met at a place called Antifras. Zor Chachama. The sun shined, and they met, and Alexander says, wow. He looks at Shimon HaTzadik, he jumps off from his carriage, he jumps off his carriage and he bows. They said, a big king like you bow to this Jew? Whenever I see the image of this man, I know I'm going to win the war. The Ein Yaakov says, the Ein Yaakov says that the Eibishter was Maktam Rafula Makkah. The Eibishter made an unbelievable miracle that every time he went to war, when he would win, he would see an image of Shimon HaTzadik in the ear. Rebbe Paris Baloitzcha, a few pshatim, what does it mean? He saw the tzitz, he saw Yud Kevavki, he saw Shimon HaTzadik, he saw a malach by Shimon HaTzadik. What did he see? But he saw, simple pshat, he saw the image of Shimon HaTzadik in front of him. He knew he's winning the war. So the Ein Yaakov says the Eibishter was Maktam Rafula Makkah. Now Shimon HaTzadik says he sees Shimon HaTzadik and Shimon, wow, this is the man. When I see him, I know I'm winning the war. And Shimon HaTzadik says to him, we daven for you in the Beis HaMikdash. Your success comes from the Beis HaMikdash. Now, when Shimon HaTzadik says that to him, he knows that it's true. Because the Eibishter already made this unbelievable miracle. When he wins a war, he sees Shimon HaTzadik. He says to Shimon HaTzadik, I'm sorry. These guys tricked me. I didn't realize it's you. What do I do now? He says, you know what? Those guys, who are they? He said, these are the Kusim. They're yours. Crush them. Do whatever you want. The Jews with no pity, seemingly no mercy. The Jew took all the Kusim and they drilled a hole in their ankle and tied a rope through that hole and took each one of the tzdukim and tied them to the znavis, to the tails of the susim v'chamoidim, and they were riding with them on the koitzim and barkonim until they got to Shomron, from Shalim to Shomron, from Tifras to Shomron. By the time they got to Shomron, there were only legs hanging off the back of every horse, because pieces of each one of those kusim was, all over the place.
That must have been painful.
It must have been painful.
So
right.
there was no trial.
And they destroyed the temple of the kusim, and they planted it karshinim, and the Gemara finishes off with a very powerful line. Kederach shebikshu lasas labeis elakain. Kederach shebikshu. These guys were not like Tzahal today, which is run by some politicians that are trying to show the world how nice people. They said, this is the plan that the Kusim had to do with us. That's what we do to them.
How about Lotikon Velotito?
Oh, that's not for Lotikon Velotito, it's by yesterday. We want the enemies of the Jews to be scared of us tomorrow, not yesterday. Well, if we're going to be nice to terrorists, and we're going to go to, and we're going to let Bagatz run the show, and he could, Rahman al-Islam, they could kill Jews, and the punishment is very light. So then they encouraged to do it again and again. But they didn't know for monkey business in the days of Shimon HaTzadik. By the way, Shimon HaTzadik, you have to realize, in that time, Shimon HaTzadik, he was the de facto king. There was no king. So he had the role of Nasi Sanhedrin, Kohen Gadol, and the political leader of the Jewish people. It's Shimon HaTzadik had an unbelievable amount of power in his hand. So that's what they did. That day they made a Yom Tov. Now, it's interesting that there is another giz in the Megillas Tainis that says, as Yom Echad V'Esrim B'Kislev. What's tonight? Chav Kislev. So we're talking Mamish. Chaval of Kislev was this Yom Tov. Unbelievable. The Rebbe. Yeah, right. Right. They probably in Satmar they learned this Gemara very good. They had that. Yeah. Like we said, the Gemara says in Hashanah that we don't keep Mamish those days, but it's still an important day in the calendar. We don't keep the Lolo Mispah, the Lolo Sanas besides Hanukkah Purim, but it's a special day. Okay. So a few interesting things that I want to tell you. The Rebbe writes. The Rebbe says in a Sikha. The Rebbe says that we can learn a few lessons from the story. One is, what do they care? Why do they have to go destroy the Beis Mikdash that they had in Har HaGrizim? I was with my wife many years ago. Today around Shechem is not safe. We went over there to Har HaGrizim, this whole community. We met the Kohen Gadol and his 4 wives. And they have each door has a mezuzah on the door. Al mezuzah beisecha. It's carved in rock on top of the door. Yeah. These are the bad Samaritans.
They're not good Samaritans.
No. Now they're good.
They're saying Ksav like we or Ksav Ivri?
No, it's Ksav Ivri, not like Ksav Ashuri. Okay.
They keep Shabbat?
They keep something. Yeah, they're not mamish. They're friendly with the Arabs. The Arabs don't bother
And at
them.
this point,
They get along with the Arabs in Shechem.
I know
But they have anything, huh?
Machlokes in the Gemara, they're like
And what's the bottom line? Do we count them to a minyan?
Bottom line, let's go back into the story here. Not the kusim. The Rebbe says, number one, why do they have to go destroy them?
Right.
So we see when you have a falsha Beis HaMikdash, you have to destroy it. There's no such thing. Fake Beis HaMikdash, you got to destroy it. On the other hand, we see Shimon HaTzadik never initiated a war against them. But once they went against Shimon HaTzadik, and he had the opportunity, his avoid is to do avoid the Beis HaMikdash. But now that he had the opportunity, he got rid of the falsha Beis HaMikdash. The Rebbe says, what's the lesson of avodas Hashem? The Gemara says, it's a question, how was he allowed to go with the big day kahuna and not shaloi b'shas avoid? There's a whole question with shatnez, how is he allowed to walk big day kahuna? The Gemara gives several answers. The last answer is, Eis las Hashem efeiret teresecha. It was Eis las Hashem. It was a special opportunity. I was thinking about this, and then I found in a sefer, the Beis Medrash Peshavarsk, that it's like the opposite of Churban Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara says that Zechariah was like, he was very humble. He said, Yoim with this, Yoim with that. He was hesitant. Shimon HaTzadik had no hesitation. The enemy is coming. I'm going out with the full glory of the big day kahuna. Eis lasas Hashem leifeiru teiresecha. And it worked.
It's worked very well.
The Rebbe says that this is the same story like the Alter Rebbe, the story of Yutas Kislev, that there was a kitrug against the Magid, his Rebbe, that how come there is the Pinchas Koritz saw a Ksav Chassidus on the floor, and he said, and there's a big kitrug min hashamayim against the Magid the Mezrich. and the Alter Rebbe gave a moshul and was mamtik all the judgments. He said a story with a Ben Amelech that was sick, and it was kedai to spill the Evan Tosher against Amelech to squander the whole thing and spill it, and maybe not it will go into his mouth. And Abi Ula Yochas Hamalni ve'Evin Ula Yerachim, that a little will get into the boy's mouth to save his life. So the Alter Rebbe said the same thing is when who cares about the Evan HaToiv Shebekes HaMelech of the Melech Malcham Lochem Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Taka the Evan HaToiv Shebekes HaMelech is the Pnimis HaTorah, but we need the Eden to live, and if they need in order to sustain them and avoid Hashem, they need it. It's kedai to give it to them. So the same thing over here. Shimon HaTzadik, we know that in the Gemara that the big the Kahuna Machaper, the Eibishter, it says Alakechem Kohen who the sacred begodim is the union of Pnimius HaTorah. Pnimius HaTorah is the sacred begodim of the Kohen Gadol. So a person will say this has to be kept quiet in the Beis Medrash. No, the answer is Yefutza Manasech Chutza, like Shimon HaTzadik, Eislas Hashem Efeidet Torah Secha, and we have to go out with it. Okay. I want to stop at this point about Shimon HaTzadik. So the Gemara says because of the tzidkis of Shimon HaTzadik, I'll leave some stuff maybe for another time about this story. That the tzidkis of Shimon HaTzadik made that Ner Maravi lit for 40 years.
Was old man. Was 40 years Kohen Gadol.
He must have been an old man when he passed away.
Yeah.
And the Gemara says that he knew he's going to pass away because he walked out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and there was a different. He says always he's escorted with with this. The person that always escorts the person. He gets the malach that goes in and out is always dressed in white. Now he's dressed in black, and Hitaka passed away a week later. Anyway, let's go in now. And so we'll hold this. So the Gemara says there's such a thing as there's a ner maravi. There's one candle that's maravi. It's in the side of Maidav. It's at the west. And that candle is Eidasi b'Yisrael Shashchina Eidasi Leboy Olam Shashchina Shein b'Yisrael. That's his testimony to the whole world that the Shechina is by the Jews. And we'll talk soon how it connects to Hanukkah and Shimon HaTzadik with the Pach Echad. But we know the story of Shimon HaTzadik now, and we know the miracle that happened in the days of Shimon HaTzadik. And now let's go in a little bit to learn the Reshimas Hamenorah. Tanina Maseches Tamid, we learned in the Mishnah Maseches Tamid. So Perek Gimel at the end of the third Perek. Misha Zoche b'Dishan Hamenorah, a person that was Zoche, the Kohen that was Zoche to do the Dishan Hamenorah, Nichnas, he went in, Umotza Beis Neres Mizrachim, he found two candles. Delkim, if he walked in and he found that two candles are lit, it's Daf Aleph, with the gold word Menorah on the top. Tanini will learn the Mishnah. When Maseches Tamid Sop Perek Gimel, Mishnah Zoche b'Dishan Hamenorah, person, the Kohen that Zoche in the raffle to do the Dishan Hamenorah, Nichnas, if he walked in on Matzah Beis Neres Mizrachim, the two candles in the Mizrach, Delkim, that they're lit, Medashan as Ashar, he does Deshan on the rest. The mitzvah of Deshan is to clean up. He cleans up the other ones. And he leaves these Matzan, Shekavan, if he finds that the two candles in the Mizrach were extinguished, so then Medashnan, he cleans it up, and he lights it from those that are ready lit, and then he cleans up the rest. The Misham and the Maseches Tamid, Reish Perek Vav, in the beginning of Perek 6, Misha Zoche b'Dishan Hamenorah, the person that was Zoche in the raffle, Nichnas Matzah Beis Neres Mizrachim, he went in, he found two candles in the Mizrach, Delkin. If they're lit, Medashan as a Mizrachim, Anichas Amarav Idoilo. He cleans the one that's Mizrach, and he leaves the other one lit. Shemene Madlikas Hamenorah ben Arbaim. With this candle, they would later kindle the rest of the Menorah. Motzah Shekava, if he found that it was out, Madashne or Madlikim Mizbach Oila, he cleans it and he lights it from Mizbach Oila. Now, every word in this Mishnah is Chinese. Besides Chinese, there's the first and second Mishnah has obvious contradiction. One is, in the first Mishnah, we say that you light Madlikim and Adolkin, you light one candle from the other candle. Second Mishnah, it says Madlikim Mizbeach Oila, you light it from the Mizbeach. So which one is true? In the first Mishnah, it says Nichnas Matzah Beis Neres Mizrachim, the two candles in the Mizrach, if they're lit, don't bother them. Medash and Ashar. If they're out, medashnen or madliken. You have to clean them and madlik them. But the second Mishnah, it says no. Beis neiris mazrochim derlkim. What do you do? Medashen is a mizrochim aniach amarovi. So
You don't relight it.
well, what's going on? That's the Mishnah. The two Mishnahs don't clap. Okay, so Meforshim will talk about this. The Rebbe is first starting with the Rambam. Because all the Meforshim say in the Rambam, there's like the Bartanura says that the Rambam is Plian is Gova Be'ena, he says. Plian is Gova Be'ena, he says. No one understands that. There's a Rashba, there's two Chuvas in the Rashba. Bartanura, there's already shown to say Plian is Gova Be'ena. After you finish the Reshimas Hamenorah, you only understand the Rambam well, and everyone else, you understand Bedoichik. The Rambam all of a sudden starts to shine. The Rebbe fempet all the kashas of the Rambam, and you know the Welt sagt, asach kashas hat man gefragt of the Rambam, aber the Kesef Mishnah can also verempfet. The double Kesef Mishnah. Man get Kesef Mishnah. I didn't answer.
No,
But here the Rebbe answers all the kashas. Here. Hine Shitas Pirush Rambam Pirush Mishnayis LaRambam Pi Mishnayis Elu. We're on page base, base. What's the when you ask the when you look in the Rambam, he says like this. Tana the Talmud Tzvira Lei the Neiris Menachem Mizrach Hamayim. Before I continue, there's two very important machlokas that are very issues that are brought in the base about the base of Mikdash. The Gemara says Menachem. One machlokas is how was the menorah standing, Mizrach Hamayim or Tzafon Dorim? So let me draw a picture. So say here is, I'm going to draw the Ulam, here's the Heichel, here is Ma'irav, Mizrach, Safon, Dorim. Here's the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Better yet, this way.
Where's the Kodesh Kodashim? My glasses on.
So now the question is, in the center here is the Mizbeach HaOilo, Mizbeach HaKtoiris, Mizbeach HaZov. So now the question is, in what position did the menorah stand? Like this, or like this? This line would mean Mizrach Ma'ariv, that there was a menorah standing, there's branches, and this is the way it's standing. Mizrach Ma'ariv. The Kohen goes in through here. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The other way of looking at it, no, that it was standing like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was standing like this. That it was standing between Safon and Dorim. This is the machloikis in the Gemara. Was it standing between Mizrach and Ma'ariv? In other words, was standing straight against the wall. Say, this is the menorah, 7 branches, start from here like it, and it goes to here. In other words, if you lean it on the wall, it would, fully lean on the wall. Or no, it was the other way. Tzaf and Dorim. These are the two opinions that the Gemara gives. Then there's another issue.
The Mishnah itself doesn't.
The machloikis, it's a big machloikis that Tzadik Ches Tzadik Tes in Menachos. And then there's another issue which we say every morning in Abayav Metzal Seder, Marochin Shingor, the show. The Chachamim said that you can't just go into the base of Mikdash for the Kohen and just knock up, do all the 7 candles that Tova at once. You can't. Why? Because that's too fast. Chapla. The mitzvah was that you have to do first Chomesh Neides, you do 5 candles. The Kohen walks out, then they do a different avodah, and then the Kohen goes back to do the other 2 Neides.
They have a parsley, no? Parsley.
Yeah, but the shaila is what? It's a sandwich. It's a sandwich. Chomesh Neides, Shtei Neides. Now, what goes in the middle is a machloikis, Abishol, and Chachamim. We say it in the morning, we say it one way, and Yom Kippur we say the other way. They sandwich something in between. Either they put in between the Korban Tamid, or they pour it in between the Ktoiris. But be it as it may, there was Chomesh Neides and then Shtei Neides. Everyone agrees. Like you said, Lord Afra, Pasuk, that's the way it works. No one disagrees about that. The question is what's sandwiched in between. And the Gemara says, They didn't want that the Kohen goes in, 2 minutes later comes out, oh, menorah is fixed up in the morning. The Atovas Nedis should be Chomish Nedis and then Shtei Nedis. Whatever Atovas Nedis means. Okay. Now let's talk about what Atovas Nedis means. What does it mean? We spoke about this last night. I spoke about the Rosh Shabbos, spoke about Shabbos morning. It says that in the afternoon, Ben Arbaim is Bahalas, and in the morning, Beitivai. So a lot of them, the Rishonim learn, and Tivai means in the morning you have to clean. You have to clean the menorah. It burns all night. Now the wicks, it's black. There's a little bit of a wick. It's a little dirty. There's oil. You got to take a shmata, clean it up nice and good. How do you when you do the menorah for you're gonna polish your menorah before Hanukkah? What do you use? I don't know, some nice good polish, and you polish it nice, and then you leave it nice and clean. Then you put the oils, the wick, you set it all up, and then Bein Arbayim Ba'alas, the other Kohen comes in and he lights the menorah. In the morning is Beitiva, and Bein Arbayim in the afternoon it's Ba'alas, you light it.
Question: Should before Shabbos, the husband is supposed to set up the Shabbos candles? Am I also required to polish the silver candlesticks before Shabbos?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
This
So back to
this is only for Hanukkah.
It's Hanukkah. This is what Jews like to do with Hanukkah. It's sitting in the break front already for 12 months. It's black by now. So, but in the Beis Hamikdash, they did it every morning.
Okay.
So every morning is Behetivai, and every afternoon is Ba'alois. Rambam says no. Hadlokosam zuhi hatavosam. There's no such thing. They lit the menorah twice. In the morning they lit it, and the afternoon they lit it. In the morning, besides lighting it, they also cleaned it. But that's besides the point. They lit the menorah twice, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. But again, the Rambam also holds this 5 and 2. 5 and 2, you can't get away with the 5 and 2.
Which 2?
Now this is what's going to talk about. Which 5 and which 2. Now, it stands to reason that's not going to be a zigzag. The 5 are going to be together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other 2 will be later. Which 5 should be the first one? So we'll see the Mishnah. It seems simple to the Mishnah that if you came in
The first one.
and the first 2 candles that you lit, the first 2 candles are already not burning, so they need to be clean. So start with the first, the second, third, the fourth, the fifth. Do the first. So if we should say that the menorah is standing like this, Mizrach Ma'ariv, this is the menorah, yeah, let's say this is the menorah, and he walks in, and the first and the second are already not burning, so he's going to clean number 1, number 2. You're going to so do ready 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and leave the other last 2 closest to Kodesh HaKadoshim. Leave it for later. Okay, but now is where the music starts.
They are still, and if you said if the first 2 are
out already, so then clean 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are still burning. You're not going to put out any of the lights.
A good question. What happens if all 7 are burning, and what happens if all 7 are out?
See, I'm just looking at their different possibilities.
Okay, so let's first figure out the possibilities that the Mishnah is talking about,
Okay.
and based on what the Mishnah is saying, then we'll be able to try to figure out those possibilities. Okay. והנה שיטס פירשה משנייס לרמב"ם על פי משנייס אלו שלחוי דנירקס זוי הוא תונה דתומit סביר לית הנרס מנוחים ממזרח למערב. The menorah in the Beis Hamikdash was straight. Say this is the wall. The menorah went like this, mizrach to ma'ariv. Here's the sun comes up mizrach. Here's ma'ariv, and it's straight by the wall of the heichel. So P is kol on the ma'ariv, and the wicks are all to the ma'ariv, which is l'tzad kodesh hakadoshim, to the side of kodesh hakadoshim. And this is what it says in the pasuk: El mul pnei hamenorah yayiru sheves haneres. The hainu l'tzad kodesh hakadoshim, that the wicks have to be in the side of the kodesh hakadoshim. Apiza also bepashas adam akra yiru sheves haneres elachayir lashor adeish mul pnei hamenorah v'neirem tzoyu ve'lepon piyas shor haneres havle lema yiru sheishes haneres miyum pirish haram bepashas ba'alois sheherich b'zeh. So, according to the opinion in the Gemara that the menorah was standing saf and dorim, So if the menorah was standing tough and doran, it says al mul pnei menorah yiru shiva saneris. All 7 candles shall be al pnei menorah. So the way that Rashi Mashal Chumash, Rashi says, like the opinion that says tough and doran, that it was this way in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So he says that really al mul pnei menorah yiru shisha saneris. The way it was it was right in front of the Kodesh. Could say this is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Right in front of the Kodesh HaKadoshim stood the menorah. 3 candles were, and the Pnei Menorah is the middle branch, and 3 wicks were going to the right, 3 to the left, all shining towards the center. The center is called the Pnei HaMenorah, the face of the menorah. But all the Meforshim said, well, wait a minute, why it says Apmul Pnei Menorah Yiru Shiva Sanedes, all 7 candles. It should say Yiru Shisha Sanedes. Right. So you should say 3 from the right, 3 from the left should be facing the center of the menorah. So why does it say Shiva Sanedes? But if you learn like the Mandam and the Gemara that says that the menorah was this way, here's the Kodesh HaKadoshim was this way. So it's simple. Pnei menorah means that there's something that's facing the menorah. Who's the menorah facing? The Kodesh HaKadoshim. Pnei menorah is not talking about the menorah. The face of the menorah, not the menorah. Mu pnei menorah, the face of the menorah. Here there's a menorah. Menorah has a face. Who is he facing? Who is he looking at? The menorah is looking at the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Where here's the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So all 7 wicks have to be pointing towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So that way, the pasuk goes very, very good. It's simple and it all makes sense. So let me show. So according to Rashi, this is the way the menorah went. Al mul pnei menorah. Here is the middle branch, and 3 from the right, 3 from the left are facing the middle. But then why is it al mul pnei menorah yeshiva sanedes? 7, 6. But according to the other opinion, that so then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of them they were all facing. Say the Kodesh HaKadoshim is here. They were all facing towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim. All the 7 wicks. So it's good. Now it goes good. Okay, let's continue. So now let's go back to what we were talking about. Shenichnas, when the Kohen goes in, the Matzah Beis Neiris Hayosim Mizrachiyos. He found white again when he goes in according to the opinion we hold that the menorah was standing from. So when he walks in, he doesn't hit all 7 candles at once. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is the first 2 that are towards the door, towards the Mizrach. If he goes in and he sees that those 2 are lighting, so don't bother them. Let them stay. So then you clean up and you light up the 5 other candles.
Well, we didn't say the first 5, and then the waiting, and then 2.
Right. So which 5 should he pick? He came in and he saw the first 2 candles are burning. So don't bother them. They're burning. Leave them. They're burning. They're not hurting you. Don't hurt them. Don't bother them. Do the other 5. So even though you're doing a mitzvah 5, but the first 2, don't touch them because they're still burning. So don't touch them. Go and do the other. Go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do those. The Rambam, according to the Rambam, Madlik Hanedes Gamba Boiker, Katoves Hanedes, Shalzen Emar Ba Boiker, Vetives Hanedes Lepirusha Hainen Nikurim, Vigamad Lakosam. According to the Rambam, Matova means to clean and to light. The Kamasha Kosa, Bepirish Mishnayis, Ubeyada Chazok, Hilchis Tmidim Musof, and Perigim Allah Yud Beis. So good. Vigam Ner Amarovish, who Ner Asamach Lakoidesh Kadoshim, the Lafi Dasa Rambam, Bepirish Mishnayis, who Bechlal Hein Neris and Isharim, Shem Madashin and Madlik, Beknisa Aleph, Kishamot, as Beis Mizrachi, is Delkim. So when he walks in, if he finds that the first 2 are burning, don't bother them. Don't touch them. Take care of the other 5. Take care of the other 5. Clean them, light them, take care of the other 5. Then, mafsik ba'avodas acheres, walk out, let the Beis HaMikdash do another avodah, whatever it is, carbon tomid or the carbon potatis. And then come in and do the 2 candles that are in the mizrach. Okay, that's the possibility number 1.
So the assumption is by the time after you do the in between avoda, the first 2 will gone out.
Yes, and if they didn't go out, we'll deal with it soon.
Because it doesn't say you're going to do another intermediate avoda.
No, you do 1 intermediate avoda and then you go straight back. The intermediate avoda could take up to an hour. It depends. It's the carbon tomid takes time. Okay, avol. That's what the Mishnah continues. If he originally walked in, he finds the 2 candles that are most to mizrach, most towards the door. Shekavu, they were already out. So then, and you clean also the 3 candles next to them. So the first 5 candles gets cleaned and lit, and then in Beis Hanedis, when he comes in the second time, Shadayan lo yitivam, and if the last 2 candles, Shem Nedis ayoyser marovim, if he comes in the second time, this is now going to your question. If he comes the second time and the 2 candles that are the most towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Doilkim, and they're still lit, so Medashin is Mizrachi. First you do the addition of the Mizrach one from the 2 of them. Umaniach es hamarovi, and the one that's closest to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you don't touch it. Elo shemoisev b'shemen, you have to add oil in it. Kedei sheyidlak ad ha'erev, in order for it
that
to.
one doesn't get cleaned out that day.
Yeah. Avlim krakova ner hamarovi, but if the ner hamarovi was already out, medashna gamhu umadlikim mizbeach oila, and then he brings fire from the mizbeach oila. V'imkein. The Mishnah is going to read like this. Several diukim will be for emphasis according to this. First, let's read the first Mishnah. Mishnah the Sof Pei Gimel. Nichnas, he went in. He found the first 2 candles towards the door are bright, they're lighting. Medashin es kol ashor. The other 5, he has to do addition. And from this we know the Beknisa Aleph Meitiv Hey Nedis, that right when he goes in the first time, he has to do the 5 candles. The first thing you do is always the bigger avodah, the 5 candles. Later you do the 2 candles. When you leave the first 2 and you don't bother them. But if you walked into the and you found that the Beis Nedis and Mizrachim, the first 2 candles that are towards the door, are already out. Medashnon umadlika min adolkim. The Mishnah says you clean it and then madlika min adolkim. From these 2 words, madlika min adolkim, you learn 2 halachas. The Rambam, according to the Rambam. The yadinim is a tarti from these 2 words from the Mishnah. Aleph, number 1, that lokas anedis igam baboiker. We light the candle also in the morning. Sherebe masnisin koyoy the say that avoda baboiker mafurish lehedye shigamos madlaka anedis va'achin sharim meforshim the sfida ledena lokas anedis elo be'erev nitchu kaharbe betamad loka beis anedis atam yoyim b'shuta rajba simen shin tes and ayin tes huve betois vis yomtev. Most of the meforshim have a problem. They hold in the morning you don't light the candles. But the Mishnah says, "Umadlika min adolkin, madlika min adolkin," that you have to light. So the Mishnah says you light candles. So you say you light. It's a fetish. So they have all kinds of shmei drei. They have a pshat azin, a pshat ahead. Like for example, order 17 over here, the second paragraph, he says he brings up pshat from the Rajba that it says that there has to be lifnei Hashem tomid. So there is, besides the mitzvah of having a menorah that has 7 branches, there's a thing called Ner Tomid. And what's the Ner Tomid? The Ner Maravi, because that was the special candle, the Ner Maravi. So why do you have to light 2 candles? Because how do you know which one is the Ner Maravi? You have to light the first one, and the second one is, how do you know what's east and what's west? So if you light the first 2 candles that are towards the east, the second candle becomes the west to the east. The second, if you walk in and you have 2 candles and you light the first 2 candles, so you can now make an announcement and say the first one is east and the second one is west.
Yeah.
So how is it west? Because it's west, the east. So you have to light 2 candles. That's a very doichik pshat. According to the Rambam, you don't have to hold the doichik. Madlikan, in the morning, you also light the candles. Can it? Madlikan. And the second thing we learn from here, base, another halacha we learn from here. Madlikim in adolke. Yadinan the natives, madlikim in echaveda. That now we know that you light candles one from the other candle. Yuyin yada chazoke hilchas tmidim asafim perigimel aloch yudgimel basoris arrivet besoifoi. If you look in the order 18, the last few words, the words of the Ravid, that kol echad efsher mineu be odev tvei. I rather not run to get fire from the mizbeach. Everyone agrees that the Kohen never used his cigarette to light the menorah. Everyone agrees that there was no shamish in the menorah, the Beis HaMikdash. Not like your menorah that you can have a Hanukkah.
They had cigarettes?
They had cigarettes. They had shamoshim, but they didn't use it in the Beis HaMikdash. The cigarettes and the shamish stayed in your house. So a lighter, no, didn't work. Lighter fluid, matches, no. All of the above, not kosher. So either you light the menorah, one wick you pull the wick from one candle and you bring it to the other. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that you go out, you get a shovel, you take a burning coal from the mizbeach achitza, mizbeach ha'oila, whatever you like to call it, and then you bring in that coal, you put the wick on top of the coal, and you blow, or whatever you do, however you figure it out, and then you get the wick to burn.
Sounds like a lot of work.
But it was work. There was no such a thing as take a match and give a scratch. That didn't work.
Were there any circumstances that Hashem hit the menorah?
No, it's a mitzvah for a Jew to do. He has to do it. So, but from here, from the Mishnah that it says, Madlikim min adolkim, we see that our preference usually is not to go running out to the Mizbeach HaChitzim to get coals, to get fire, to light the menorah. The preference is always to light one wick from the other wick. But if I have no choice, then I go out. Yeah, exactly. Hine ato. Beknisa Aleph, when he goes in the first time, when he took here, when he went the first time, and he found that the first two candles were out. So then, Meitiv Gamkin Gimel Aneres Asmuchim Lebeiz Aneres Elu. Kimi Shetzorech Leitev Hey Neres Beknisa Aleph, because the first time you have to do 5. So if the first 2 were out, you don't only take care of the first 2, you take care of the first 5. Why didn't the Mishnah spell it out clearly? Because we already said in the Resha that Nichnas Motza Beis Neres Mizrachim Dolkin Medashenes Kolashor Mizeyadin and the Tzorech Leitiv Hey Neres Beknisa Aleph. We already know from the Mishnah that first time you go in, you do the 5 candles and then you do the 2. So the Mishnah doesn't have to be repetitive. Then the Mishnah says Ve'achakach. What does it mean Ve'achakach? Let's get the brackets for a second. Medashenes Ashar. What does it mean? That achakach means Haino la'acher zman la'acher hefsak avodah shezeu diuk tevis achakach sheva Mishnah. The Mishnah says achakach. What do you mean achakach? Later. Achakach means it's trying to say something. Achakach, later. So the Mishnah is trying to say, after you did the 5 candles, walk away. Walk out. Bye-bye. Walk out. Then something else has to happen. Whatever it is, a carbon tumid has to happen. The Torah says that something has to happen. But after you did the 5, walk out. Achakach, later. When we say achakach, we always mean later. Something happens later. If we don't learn like the Rambam, the word achakach is very is not. What do you mean by achakach? L'shorim meforshim shemedashen shashor koyal atov v'schomeshnesh nisa aleph tev tzachim yuteres v'lev l'leim el motzen shekove medashen medlikim adokim medashen shashor. So according to the Rambam, it's very understood the word v'achakach. V'hinei prot edition neiris and ishonim beis neiris shemetzad ha'ma'arev lo niskru adayim b'sof perek gimel kivin shenisparu mekoimim hainu beperek vav sheshom meduber oidus haknisa beis shel achar krovas ha'tomed zrikas dom v'lukam beperek gimel koyal knisa aleph shebo meitiv Hey, Neres, loy niskru beis Neres, ela agav urchi. So the Rebbe is saying like this, simple. According to the Rambam, there's two Mishnahs in Pedic 3 and Pedic 6. Pedic 3 is talking about the first time he went into the Heichel, and he did the 5 candles. Pedic 6 is talking about the second time he went into the Heichel. They're talking about different times. There's no contradiction because Pedic 3 is talking about the first time the Kohen goes in to do the avodah on the menorah, and Pedic 6 is talking about the second time. The Zohar the Pidush, Bereish Pedic Vav.
This is in the, you said, the Rambam says, you light in the morning and the afternoon.
Right.
Do you clean it out? Do we have the same format? We're talking about the 2 and the 5 and something in the middle, also in the afternoon?
No, afternoon there's no cleaning. Afternoon is just lighting. Afternoon there's no cleaning, just lighting. And this is the pshat when we come to the beginning of Pedic Vav. Misha zocher b'dishon Hamenorah. Dahainu oise kohen shehetiv hey neides b'knisa aleph shebesof Pedic Gimel. Ukedemuchich b'yuma daf kafei medal b'mishna the kohen echad meitiv kol azay neides nichnas b'pama beis amotza beis neides marovia. So the Mishnah says that the same kohen that won the raffle to do the 5 candles does the 2 candles. It's only that Chachamim said that they can't do it in one shot. You have to do the 5 and then the 2. And as we said, sometimes you do when he comes in the first in Pedic Gimel. So sometimes you do the first 5 and then you do the 2, and sometimes you do the last 5 and then you do the 2. That's quite simple. The question is what happens the second time you come in. Second time you come in like this. If your job that's left now is the first 2 candles, it's simple. You light them, you clean them, you put in oil, you light them. It's quite simple. Simpler. But if you have the other 2, there's something special with the Ner Maravi. You're not supposed to disturb the Ner Maravi. So if it's not burning, okay, you didn't do anything. You got to clean it out. You put in oil. You need fire, okay. So for the Ner Maravi is a yachs. He's a special miyuchas. So if the Ner Maravi is out, you got to go. You have to restart the process all over again. You got to go get fire from the mizbeach achitz. But if he is still burning, the Ner Maravi, that special candle, that's the Lifnei Hashem. The Ner Maravi, that one candle. According to the Rambam, Ner Maravi is that one candle that's close to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So if that candle is still burning, don't bother it. Don't touch it. But there's a little bit of oil. Okay, add oil. Add oil. Just add oil and make sure it's up to the top. That's it. Let's read it again inside. Involved. Zo the Pirush Bereish Pedic Vav. Zo the Pirush Bereish Pedic Vav. And this is what he says in the beginning of Pedic 6. Misha zocher b'dishon Hamenorah dainu oise kohen she'etiv hey neides b'knisa aleph. The Kohen echad meitiv kol hazay neides nichnas v'pamas beis. What's the meis neides marovim? He found that the 2 neides were from Meitiv. The Ayin Balach Mishnah Hilchos the twin Mesafim needed Iker that came out of him. V'loy Mizrachim. He gives us a Ram Mishnah Zum. Shasena Koyah Seifa the Self Pedic Gimel Matzon Shekavu. Oh, Beis Neides Mizrachim Medashna Madlikim in Adol Kemakich Medashna Sashor Beis Neides Marovim. ובהמשך לזה עושה פירוש שכאן איך ידע שנעשה השור ועל זה כעומד עם מוצא שניהם. If you hold your hand over here by page 12 and you go back to the Mishnah, put your hand in here or put the bookmark in here and go back to Daf Aleph. When Mr. Gottenberg was doing the printing of the Mishnayos the first time 500 years ago, so they got to the first, I'm explaining the Rambam. The first Mishnah it says Nichnas v'yoseh beis neides mizrochi. Okay, he types it. He gave 3 prokem later. Nichnus amotza beis neides. It said marovim. It must have been a mistake. He did us a big favor. The Bacher Azetza did us a big favor, according to the Rambam. He realized that the second Mishnah was wrong, so he fixed it. You know, he didn't understand what's going on. He didn't know what's going on. So he did us a favor. The first Mishnah says Nichnas Samotza Beis Neides Mizrachim. The second Mishnah also made it that way. He did us a favor. But really, according to the Rambam, says the Kesler Mishnah, the second Mishnah is nichnas umotza beis nedis marovim. That's why there's no contradiction.
Our Mishnah has Mizrach, no?
Our Mishnah says both Mizrachim, but the Rambam says it can't be. It's the Chastida. So the printer, Mr. Gottenberg, had Goyim working for him, or a few Yidden, but they were not that smart.
Right.
And they were clap, clap, clap. They were putting words. And the first Mishnah, it says beis nedis Mizrachim. And the second one, they realized the manuscript was a mistake. So they did us a favor. They fixed it. They did us a favor. The Rambam realized that they did us a favor. So again, so he said,
Rambam was before the
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I'm saying, like I'm a little bit being matar, like what happens, matikim. What I meant is that someone was matik. Right. I meant the manuscript. Really. I was just describing it. The Rambam was before printing came along. So really, if you look again in the first page, like this, let's read it inside again here in the first mission. Misha zacha b'dishna menorah, a person that was zacha to clean up the menorah. Nichnas u'matzah beis nedis mizrachim. He found the first two candles. They're burning, so don't touch them. Medashan asashor, take care of the other five. The first two, don't bother them. Second possibility, Motzah Shekova, he found that the first two candles are already out. So then, Medashnan, he cleans it, and he cleans the first five candles, and he also lights them from the other candles that are already lit. And the Mishnah says in short, later, 2 hours later, an hour later, we're going to come back, Medashnan and Sashar, you'll take care of the rest. Then in the next Pedic, you're looking good. And the next Pedic, in Eish Pedic Vav, he says, Misha Zocha B'dishna Menorah, the second time around. Nichnas Umotza Beis Nedis Marovim. This the last case of what we just spoke was that he cleaned up and he fixed up the first five candles that are towards the door. So the last two candles that are towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Nedis Marovim, were still not touched. So now Nichnas, he goes in, Umotza Beis Nedis Marovim Dolkim, if they're both burning. So what does he do if they're burning? The one that's more mizrach, he cleans it up and he lights it again. But the one that's the holy one, the one that's the closest to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that one, don't touch it. Because if it's burning, don't touch it. If he found out those two were both already out, then he cleans them up. But Madliko, he lights the candle that are close to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he has to jump start it again from taking coals from the Mizbach. Let's go back to Avov. So the last paragraph. The second time at Dolkim, if he comes in and the last two candles that are next to Kodesh HaKadoshim are burning, Medash, and then I'm attacking them short and there, the one that's more mizrach from the two, he cleans it up and fixes it up. Hainu nershu mizrachi legabe ner chavera samach lekodesh hakadoshim. Umaniach at samarov doilik shalo yichbeyu v'lad lekois hasheni. Rak moise b'shemesh v'mene emad lekamenayre ben arbaim. Motzai, and the Mishnah continues. Motzai l'ner maravi shekova. If he found that the ner maravi that's close to the kodesh hakadoshim is out, then medashne madlikim mizbeach ha'oilo, he has to start it all over from again. V'lo mishor neiris. Avshikulum doilkim b'shozul. If you pirish Rambam, the madlik neiris gam ba'boiker. The look asogis arriva that says that you have to take because there's no candles left here. No, according to Rambam, they're all burning. But the one that's the most holy, that's out. You have to jump start it and go again to Mizbeach to bring new fire to jump start the whole thing.
Talking about the 5 or the 2?
They're talking about the last one, the very last one. When he comes in the second time, and if he finds that the two ones that are closest to the Kodesh HaKadoshim are both out, so the one that's closest to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he cleans it, he puts in oil. Even though the other ones are burning, he doesn't take a wick from them because he's the most choshev one. He shouldn't be lit from the other ones. So he has to run out now to the Mizbeach and bring fire from the Mizbeach to light that special candle that's the closest to the Kodesh hakadosh.
But that's only if that one goes out.
Yes, and if it's not out, but there's less oil, so that one you have to be very careful with. So what you do is you add more oil to it. Turn the page to the daf chof. Daf ches. I'm sorry, daf ches. Next page. The Rebbe says tzorich the fish is. You know what? We'll put. I'll just explain it by heart. Next time we'll. The Rebbe asks. So what's the difference if they're both lit? What's the difference between the two candles that are closest to the Kodesh HaKadoshim? What's the difference between the two of them? If they're both out, so there's a difference. They clean them, put in oil, and the one that's closest to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you have to run to get fire from the Mizbeach Ha'olam, and the other one you can light from there. But if they're both burning right now, so he said the one that's close to Kodesh HaKadoshim, you can't blow it out. You have to add oil. How about the other one? So he says that the Rashba holds that the Sifrei says that it's also to blow out any of the candles of the menorah. So the Rebbe has a pilpul about it. He's not convinced, but the Rebbe is noite that the Rambam disagrees with the Rashba, and that he holds that you could. And it's up to the Kohen. It's hard to clean a candle when there's still a wick burning. So if he wants, he could blow it out, take out the wick, clean it good, put in oil, put in the wick, and light it from the other ones. No problem.
Was marked that you can't blow out candles.
I'm sorry, not blow with your hand, machazoi, whatever. I'm just saying you could put it out. Let's not say blow it out. Oh, so you're right. I'm sorry. Put it out.
Question, Rabbi Polanski. This is a question for you, Rabbi. For the Havdalah candle.
Let's not talk the Havdalah candle. It's so complicated. These candles are so complicated that the Havdalah will make it more complicated. So again, the Rebbe is saying here. Let's summarize everything because we went way over the time. So when the first Mishnah and the second Mishnah, the first Mishnah is talking about when you went in to do the 5 candles. Yeah. Second Mishnah is talking about when you went in to do the 2 candles. Yeah. When came in the first time, if he sees that the first 2 candles are out, so he cleans up the first 5 candles, puts in oil, puts in wicks, and lights them from the other candles. Oh. Now, those 5 candles, he could put out the fire if he wants. He could do however he wants. Bottom line is, he's got to clean each one of them, fill it up with oil, put in the wicks, and light them. If he wants to he can do however he wants. He can leave the wicks while they're burning and move around it. He can do how he wants. That's the first. Now, if he comes in and he sees that the first 2 are still burning, then he cleans the other 5. Now, when he comes back, the second Mishnah says when he comes back, so if he's coming back, and the job now is to do the 2 candles that are next to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there is a nuance here. You can't just come in and do whatever you want here, because if they're both out, so then there's a special instruction that the Ner Maravi close to Kodesh HaKadoshim, you don't light from the other candles. You go and you bring coals from the Mizbeach Ha'olah, and you bring it here to light him. If he's still lighting, so then again, there's a special din in that special candle that because it's Isur, because that's the Eidush Hashchina Sheira B'Yisrael, that candle, Lifnei Hashem, you're not allowed to it. You can't just, if he's still burning, you have to just add oil to it. That's it. You just add oil. But the other candle, you're medashin. And it's up to you what you want to do with the other one. You could clean it up. You could get rid of the fire and clean it up, or you leave the fire and be medashin and clean it all up, and then put in the full amount of oil. That's okay. I'm glossing over a few details, but that's the general mahalach, and this is where we'll leave it off for this week.
Thank you, Rabbi.
The Chumash doesn't talk about.
That's pretty complicated.
No, this is the easy part. I'm joking. This is the complicated. It is it. Yeah.
The Chumash doesn't address about the 2 and the 5 in there by Ravi.
No, but there's a limudim that we learned, the 2 and the
So
5.
we're looking at these in Yonim as a deraisa. It's not
I'm not sure if I have to. I was thinking before the Shiur. I'm not sure the difference of 5 and 2 is mederaisa.
Also, the Ner Bar Ravi, is that a deraisa?
That's a deraisa because we learn it because it says ner tomid, and also it says yarech oisoi lifnei Hashem. Oisoi. It says one can. It says in the pasuk yarech oisoi. The problem is the lashon pasuk yarech oisoi singular lifnei Hashem. So there's one candle that's lifnei Hashem that's considered unique. Yarech oisoi, the pasuk says him singular. So there's that one candle from the 7 candles that stands out.
The Torah doesn't specify which candle.
The
it
Torah
is of the
doesn't
7.
tell us.
Yeah.
There's a machlokes Rishonim. So if you say that the Hamenorah is standing Mizrach Ma'ariv, or the Rambam is unique, he holds that the candle that's facing the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that's called the Oisoi, Lifnei Hashem, and it makes more sense because that's the one that's close to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. All the other Rishonim disagree with him, and we'll next year we'll get into exactly this machlokes.
Also, how is since the Mishnayos have edus from people that were around at the time of the Beis Mikdash, how's their machlokes the direction of the menorah?
Very good question. Very good
Another
question.
thing we can talk about.
That's a very good question. Now, one of the things I would say is simply because not all you're thinking of all Shimon HaTzadik, who was a Tana Chaninas Gana Koinim, Belazar Hacharsum, Chaninas Gana Koinim. Some of the Tanoim lived 200 years after the Churban.
So there are multiple Besoros.
I want to ask you, 224 years ago today, the Alter Rebbe went out of what's it called? What kind of kasha did they serve at the Fabrengen? Schwarze kasha. One second. Kasha varnichka or just with onion? Huh? Ask your father. I can't ask your father. But 224 years is very hard to go back. So is some. No, I'm saying that.
That's a very significant thing. But like if you would ask what kind of tefillin did he wear, that's something totally other.
Okay, but the menorah was bifnim in the eichos, and there's a lot of ashmodas that went on the Churban Beis Hamikdash, the Kochba revolt, and now we're talking maybe in the times of Rebbe, which is already 4 or 5 generations later, maybe 150 years later, and there's been already let's think about after the Holocaust. How many? That's why. In other words, the Amoraim and Tanoim that are arguing here on all these issues in the Menorah might have lived not just after Shammai and Hillel. These are Tanoim and Amoraim that lived b'smichu zman to Rebbe HaKodesh, which is already 150 years after the Churban. So if in the days of Chaninas Gana Koyanim, no, everyone knew. Yeah. If you didn't know, you say, Chanina, tell me something. How's the Menorah standing? Mizrach Ma'ariv Etzav and Dorim. He tell you right away. Chanina, the 5 and the 2, how does it work? Chanina, which is called Ner Maravi. He'll tell you right away everything. He'll answer all your questions. But 200 years later, 150 years later, after so many Jews were killed and misplaced and shooken up, so there was confusion about it. There was
so many things that are machlokas.
Yeah. So that's the simple answer to your question.
Thank you,
Rabbi.
Shkoyach everyone for joining us, and even though we went so much time,
I'm here.
David shall helfen that Mitzvah Shem that we're going to be in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh, and then we're going to have the Beis Hamikdash, and then the Kohen Gadol is going to be from Beis Menachem Mendel, definitely.
Amen.
All right.
Maskim, the Kohen Gadol is from Beis Menachem Mendel.
Yeah, I told her.
So what's the relevance to our Hanukkah?
I don't know.
What's relevant to our Hanukkah?
I'm not.
You missed the part because you got to take the kusam and drill a hole through their ankle, and then tie them to the backs of the horses and ride with them till the Haragrizim, and then plow the mountain.
But there is a tradition that the wick should be in the direction of the shepherd.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have $16.
I'll answer.
We'll have some davening.